We'll also be recording this training for people in the future could not attend, so that will be on.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Sarah, do you want to go ahead and share your screen and then I can get started?
Let's see. Just getting it set up. Okay.
All right. Well, welcome, everyone. I'm Amanda Giant. I'm head of ops at TFC. I'm joined here by Sarah. Sarah is one of our state directors and has kind of become our resident expert on ads projects. So we're really grateful to be with you all today and talking about ads projects, best practices, learning so far. So I'm going to kick it off by just going over some kind of general stuff, and then I'm going to kick it over to Sarah to dive into targeting, Meta-specific and Google-specific best practices, tips for persuasion and get out the vote, things like that are kind of becoming our focus and will be our focus through Election Day. So if you are someone who is interested in joining an ads project and you have not joined yet, I want to call out that the commitment is now through Election Day, which seems like Election Day is far away, but it's really not. It's a little bit over a month, which is crazy. And so, and we really need folks. So we are still staffing a lot of ads projects. So we need you, really encourage you to join a project if you haven't already. And
did I go the right way? Yes, I did. Sorry.
Yeah. And our ads teams have 3 team members, team leads, who are kind of the machine that make all of our projects at TFC work. First and foremost, responsibility of the team lead is just keep all of your team members accountable and providing really awesome, high quality work to campaigns. Making sure that communication with the campaigns is smooth, that we are delivering on our KPIs and benchmarks, things like that. Paid marketers are kind of the core executors for these projects. So executing campaigns, setting audiences, and really learning and iterating as we go and as we run more ads for our candidate. And then designers are responsible for doing the creative for all of our ads. And designers, you'll be coming in and either building off of existing branding from mailers and things like that for the campaign, or you'll be kind of building a design scheme from scratch. So important to figure out kind of what situation you're in, and either way, be proactive early. And then it's kind of everyone's responsibility on the team just to brainstorm, come up with concepts, and iterate together. And so what are our expectations for you as volunteers from TFC staff? And also what are the expectations that campaigns have for you? And so kind of separate this into a few areas. The first is communicating around goal setting and planning. So your team should have a media plan already that was created between TFC staff and the campaign, but coming in, confirming all of that information, and then scheduling weekly meetings, both. So you'll have 2 weekly meetings, one with the campaign, one with the just the volunteer team and your state director every single week. So setting those goals, aligning on them, and then checking in on them really regularly. The next is actually doing the creative. So we recommend creating 1 to 2 pieces of new creative every week, so that we are constantly testing and seeing what works best. We're really in the crunch time right now, so it's important to always be kind of testing and trying new things. And then thirdly, audiences and testing, setting, targeting, and iterating there, adjusting the strategy and the budget based on those results. Excuse me. And then data analysts. So looking at all the performance of the ads and providing weekly reports to our campaigns every week. And as Sarah and I sat down to think about what would be most helpful for this presentation, there were a few kind of random logistical best practices that came to mind. So we just wanted to rapid fire some of those. First one is nail down your approval process early. There's a lot of back and forth that can happen, and we want to minimize that as much as possible to not slow ourselves down. So work with the campaign to figure out an approval process that's efficient and works for everyone, and do that early. Also get aligned early on times for weekly internal and external check-ins. These are things that you will want to set and kind of forget about. You should be able to expect that everyone will show up for those. So take the time up front to make sure that that will be the case. And then share the media plan, budget, and strategy early. Again, I mentioned this earlier, and check in on it often. And then we also have a lot of ads teams running right now. So take advantage of that, learn from other teams. We have an ads teams channel in Slack and also a dashboard, which Sarah will share later. And then wanted to just call out kind of where we are at in the cycle now. So we're entering October, where a lot of our focus up to this point has been on awareness and a bit of persuasion. Now we're getting into focusing on get out the vote efforts, while continuing to do some persuasion and awareness as well. And then for getting started, just want to call out quickly some first steps that if you are about to start an ads project or you're about to apply for one, think about and do these things as soon as you can. First and foremost is, excuse me, verify your identity on Meta. We're seeing a lot of challenges with this cycle, unfortunately. Lots of folks actually having to get notarized in person, which we know is really annoying, and we're so sorry, but these campaigns really need us and they need us soon. So get ahead of that and do that early. Also, then once you've done that, schedule internal kickoff. So if you're the team lead, schedule that. If you're a team member, make sure you provide your availability for that internal and external kickoff as soon as you can. And then as you get started on actually executing content, we recommend focusing on Meta first. So get that first ad out early on Meta. Usually it's going to be something simple like a single image, of course, with text, or a selfie video if your candidate has one, and then you can focus on other platforms. And so that is kind of the high level stuff. I'm going to hand it over to Sarah to go over targeting best practices.
Thanks, Amanda. Yeah, so just jumping straight in, of course, when we're targeting, we want to make sure we're reaching the right people so that we're increasing the program's efficiency. Campaigns have a very limited amount of money and also a limited period of time to speak to people. So we want to make sure that they're talking to the right people. So our ideal target is someone who would not have voted for our candidate without the ad campaign. These are swing voters, moderates, independents. This year, there's also a lot of candidates who need to flip Republican voters in order to win the seats. So that's something to think about as well. Data that's going to be really useful for us for targeting is voter data. This is published by each state government and then passed to the DNC to enrich the files. After that, the data is available through DNC Vote Builder, which you also may know as VAN. And to get this data in a format we can use for uploading to custom audiences, it needs to be downloaded either by the candidate or campaign or someone who has permission to do so. So this can take a bit of time, and it's good to get these asks in as early as possible. I'd say baseline requests from this data should be for separate lists for Democrats who we want to be talking to, especially around voting time, to make sure they're turning out. Those persuadable voters that we want to be targeting with issues and educating them on a candidate. And then finally, one who are those staunch Republicans that we really should be excluding from all of our campaigns. So looking at some targeting best practices, first and foremost is every single placement should be geo-targeted to the candidate's district. Every tactic you're doing needs to be geo-targeted because there's no point spending money on a voter who can't vote for our candidate. I'd say the easiest way to do this is to get zip codes from the campaign. we used to be able to pull them from some other places, but with a lot of the redistricting this year, those systems aren't updated. So they're kind of the best source of truth. And then in Meta, at least when you're adding those audiences in, you can further refine that targeting with their little radius tool. So I'd say upload those zip codes, bring up the district map, compare what it's looking like, and make those adjustments that you need so that, you know, maybe half the zip code is in a different district. We're making sure that we're not reaching those people. Next is to think about relevant interest and or audience targeting if it's available. So Meta really gutted this year. We used to be able to target by political leaning or do things like excluding people who were interested in Sean Hannity and Donald Trump. All of those options are really removed, and this is why those voter lists that we can make custom audiences on are even extra important, because that's really going to allow us to do more of this targeting, and especially those really important exclusions that we can no longer do just through the Meta system. Then I'd also say, like, consider local news sites. That's coming up by a lot of campaigns, or what attributes could indicate a person might be interested in a particular issue. You know, are talking about healthcare, abortion, things like that. And then finally, you know, these districts aren't huge for the most part, so really be aware of over segmenting the audience. We don't want to be splicing things up so that we're raising the costs for running things. So, like, really be thoughtful about how you're segmenting things. Is it a really distinct difference that we want to be making between who we're reaching? So just diving in a little bit deeper to custom audiences, this is a list of some that I would consider. Harping again on those voter and donor lists. You can also make lookalikes off of that list, which is great to expand it a bit. Wouldn't go past 5% of that expansion. And then these other ones are more related to audiences we can create with Meta, but depending on the platform, there might be some other things similar to this. So users who engaged with a post, viewed a video, followers of a candidate, friends of followers, all of those things that we can kind of expand who we're reaching. But again, most importantly, if you're doing any of those things, you're also geo-targeting the district on top of that. All right, now let's dive into more specifics about Meta. So first we have designers, make sure to get clear on the creative specs. Political ads can only run on Facebook and Instagram feeds, Instagram stories, Facebook in-stream video, and Facebook audience network. So what we've been seeing this year is that at a base, kind of creating, you know, your standard 1080 by 1080, and then maybe your 16 by 19 more story size are like two basic sizes to be creating into. Although I think if you're just creating a 1080 by 1080, you can ask Facebook to not try to auto fit it in any of those other placements, which should hopefully keep it from it getting funky, like in a story format or something. Next thing from a design perspective is making sure that it's eye-catching. So think bold colors, really easy to read, and clear messaging. Just keep it simple. We know people are going to be scrolling through this on their phone most likely, so you know, it's going to be this big. They can't read a lot of text at that time, and we want to make sure we're stopping the scroll. Our goal for teams is to be producing about 1 to 2 new pieces of creative per week. This is really to keep things fresh. We are seeing, you know, if you're running things in market too long, that those the cost to do so starts to increase. So keeping this refresh creative also makes sure that we're keeping the program pretty efficient. And then, you know, there's no like star digital event metric that we can use for attribution of our campaigns. They are brand campaigns, not direct response. So a little bit later, I'll go into the campaign types that we're using and talk a little bit more about those proxies that we're looking at. And then, you know, as we kind of said in the last thing, don't make that targeting over complex. And that is also the advice of Facebook. And then really big date to have in your head is October 24th. If you're not familiar, starting in 2020, Facebook started freezing what you could change for ad campaigns, for political ad campaigns right before the election. So this year, the date that they will stop taking changes is November 1st. So this Monday, October 24th is about a week before that. We want to make sure that we're getting in all that extra money, all of that new creative, so it can be approved and ready to go. Especially since like even this time of year, we're seeing 24 to 48 hours for approval. So I think, you know, in that week, especially, it might even get more drawn out, and we don't want to be in a situation where we didn't get the creative in on time. And so now it's, you know, we don't have it to run for, you know, that last week of the election. So what type of content works well on Meta? You can see I have 6 examples here. First one is selfie videos. We really always try to push for candidates to do this. Getting a new selfie video once a week is really great. And the reason these are so effective is because they just really convey the candidate's authenticity. And, you know, voters can kind of feel like they're seeing the campaigns behind the scenes, and it feels very human. So those do really well. Next is boosted news or boosted organic content. We see this perform extremely well. It looks less like an ad, so we find that people engage with it more. So, you know, maybe there's some news about an issue that came out, you know, do we say a little bit of something about the candidate's stance on it and then promote that as an ad. For motion graphics, think design for print and add motion. That's the advice Facebook always gives. So, you know, color and movement draws the eyeballs. So make sure to make use of it. And carousel ads are another format that you should consider. They're really great for highlighting like all of the candidates' top issues, you know, telling a story, because you can include up to 10 images or videos, especially I think for like evergreen content that we might be using throughout the campaign. These can be really effective. Then we have data or infographics. So you probably know or are one of them that people love visualized data. So this can really catch voters' attention, inform them about issues, be more persuasive about the candidate's position. Number 5 we have here is videos. These are great to include if the campaign can produce them. You know, we don't offer up full video capabilities, so we do rely on them. And our main advice for them is to make sure to grab the attention of the users within the first 3 seconds. And as you probably already know, it's kind of shorter the better, generally. And then last but not least is think about highlighting endorsements. So show off who the candidate is endorsed by, to show people at those organizations and people that they're aligned with, you know, that the voters respect, and they think, hey, that's someone who, you know, is aligned with my interests. All right, so here we are to talk about the different campaign types and benchmarks. First one we'll lead off with is brand awareness. This is the main campaign type that we use for awareness or persuasion objectives. Just to call out, because it's kind of in a hard place to find, but make sure that you're actually optimizing those brand awareness campaigns to add recall lift, not, you know, highest volume reach or something like that. We want to get that ad recall lift score just so we can see the effect that our ads are having on people. This is a black box metric from Facebook, so, you know, some algorithm is figuring that out, but it gives us something to go on, and seeing that lift above 10% is good. Then video views, if you're running video for awareness or persuasion tactics, it can be good to separate that out from display, since Facebook will generally favor video. And kind of looking for a cost per view between 4 cents and 6 cents. Landing page views. This can be a good tactic for persuasion objectives. Of course, you do need to have the candidate site pixeled in order to do this. But it's wonderful for, maybe you're talking about an issue, so then you drive to the candidate's page to learn about their priorities a bit more. Or maybe you're just introducing the candidate and sending them there for more information. Based on the costs that we're seeing this year, I would say targeting a $2 to $5 cost per landing page view is kind of in that moderate range, or just a cost per link click, if that's the metric you're looking at. Then reach. So use this when you want to reach everyone in an audience. For example, this will be a really good tactic to switch to when we start doing more GOTV messages. And that's because, we're not really getting back very useful performance data. And then finally, we have here in orange. It is in orange because we don't typically recommend this objective. And specifically, it comes up a lot with campaigns that they might be interested in driving page likes. We don't recommend that. Facebook has evolved since 2015 or whatever it was. And that's not really a good metric to optimize towards anymore. I think the one caveat here is maybe sometimes looking at like video engagement could be more efficient than video views from a tactic standpoint. Okay, and now we'll go into Google. So best practices for Google, upload a wide variety of images and copy. Make sure that you're aligning your objective to the Google product that you're using. And let the algorithm do its thing. Google has kind of removed a lot of the toggles and really relies on the algorithm to figure things out and optimize for us. And then make sure to leverage that audience or content targeting to refine the audience, and geo-targeting, of course. So here we're looking at what Google Ads products offer. First up is YouTube. This would be a great tactic to start using as we move into October. Really good for persuasion or voting messages. I do want to call out some campaigns can be a bit hesitant about creating 6-second bumpers because they think, oh, that's way too fast. I'm not going to be able to say anything. But I really recommend pushing them on that. It opens up a lot of inventory, and they're also not non-skippable and really efficient. And typically the sort of campaign setups that we see include some premium channels. So, think your left-leaning news channels like MSNBC, and some run of network inventory, making sure to exclude kids channels and any like alt-right channels. Then we have Google Display Network. This is really great to broaden reach and drive awareness. And similar to YouTube, look at adding in some like local news inventory to premium channels, but don't overspend on that. Of course, this is somewhere where you're going to be producing, more whole creative as opposed to these next two products that we're getting into where Google's algorithm kind of dynamically makes the creative for us. So with that, jumping into discovery, this is very good for brand awareness, product consideration, and driving website traffic. It allows you to run single image ads or multi-image carousels. And as I just mentioned, it requires having a variety of images and copies ready to go. And then we have Performance Max. This is really well suited for driving action, as the name suggests, such as getting someone to the candidate's website. Can be really effective. So with this campaign type, you can buy across a slew of Google products And, similar to discovery, you need to be prepared with a bunch of images and copy, since Google will dynamically create the ads to fit the space and the person seeing it. And then finally is search. This is a really good tactic to reach high intent voters. They're Googling something about the election or a specific candidate. So, we know they're interested and we should be talking to them. Tactics to consider, of course, include geo-targeting, getting some candidate keywords, and, what else might people be using to research the election or candidates. Those are also great keywords to include. All right, and then we'll do a brief touch on other platforms. If you have a robust budget, think outside Meta and Google. Here I've highlighted StackAdapt, just because they don't require any minimum spend, and they offer a lot of these great other channel type inventory that you see listed here. All right, Persuasion. I think I need to pick up my speed a little bit. Here we're using ad recall, website traffic, video view, or engagement objectives. Keep those audiences broad. Connect the candidate to key issues, call out a GOP candidate's voting record, drive to the candidate's website to learn more about their position. And you can also encourage engagement by asking questions, which will increase ad recall. So here we have some examples of Persuasion ads that are running right now. I'll briefly play this video by Ben.
I couldn't just sit back and let it happen. I put together a team that kept the doors open, the lights on, and 15 good paying jobs in our community. I'm someone that believes in strong communities, but also knows what it takes to keep them strong. And keeping strong communities and doing the work that's necessary is exactly what I'll do as your next state senator.
All right, so that's just an example of a selfie video that's been really successful this year. And then get out the vote messages. So this is where we can use that awareness campaign type, focusing on the Democrats and moderate independent voters through those custom audiences. Continue to persuade in these GOTV ads. You can't assume they know what the candidate stands for or who they are. And look at creating motivation through social pressure, issue voting, and creating a voting plan. We actually have an upcoming cross-campaign experiment on this. So join our all hands on Thursday to learn more about the experiments we've already run and what's coming up. And then finally, remind them to vote down ballot. And here's a quick look at our examples. And Amanda, just to check in on time, should I stop here so we can take some questions?
We actually don't have any questions yet. So share any questions that you have, folks, in the chat if you have them. But yeah, because we don't have anything yet, I think just keep going.
Okay, cool. So this is where we're going to take a look at the ads dashboard. Is everyone seeing the switch to the dashboard?
Yep.
Cool. All right, so this is a front page of the dashboard here. So you can see all of the things that are running in terms of CPM. What did it just do? I don't know why it took people away. What I'm trying to show you is that we're seeing like a 15 CPMs around $15 are good. Of course, under is really great. We have some here really low, which are awesome. Then in terms of CTR, obviously the higher the better, but it's looking like getting above 1% is really good for what we're seeing this year. And then our cost per click, or thinking about how this might relate to a cost per landing page view. We're seeing that it's kind of between like $2 to $5, I would say, is pretty good. There's obviously some higher ones here, but this is overall, so they also might not be optimizing to that. You can see more details here, such as ad recall lift. Over 10% is good. As I mentioned earlier, we have some ones that are like really rising up, so that's awesome. And then just to take you through what else you can see in the dashboard. So as of this week, we have our shiny new ad library pages. These are broken up by image ads and video ads. You can see the text with the creative and all of these metrics here, and also filter by who you want to see or date or see what's happening in your state. So this is a really great resource. I'd recommend going in here, like see what's performing for other people, take their ideas and use it for your own. And same thing for the video ad library, which focuses on video. And with these, we have metrics more about like play rate, hook rate, and stickiness. And stickiness would be like people staying on the video, in case that's not clear. Then we have some of our metrics over time graphs. Again, you can filter these if you just want to look at yourself, or do you want to see like how we're doing overall as an organization. We have our daily spending, just to make sure like we're keeping on track with our budgets. This one gives us a look. You can go here to check, like, have you been refreshing creatives enough? This will give you a quick view on that. And then finally, there's these overviews by project. So you can click for details about the targeting, the text, the videos, how many ads are they currently running. I think something must be wrong with this because oh no, sorry, I read it wrong. With no location targeting. So this is great. There's no campaigns that aren't running with location targeting. Also calls out if you've duplicated targeting that you should maybe consider revising. And then these next pages just go into that a bit more. I realized I'm over time, so I should probably stop. Amanda, anything left?
Thank you so much, Sarah. That was great. I've answered a couple questions in the chat, but want to be respectful of everyone's time. So I think it's probably best to wrap up now, but please feel free to email me or Sarah or Slack us with any questions that you have. Our emails are just our first names at techforcampaigns.org. And then, yeah, we're also on Slack too. So thank you and have a great day.
Thanks, y'all.